Hey, I'm Steve Magnante in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, where on October 24th and 25th, 2025, just over 100 special interest vehicles will be auctioned by Richmond Auctions, many of them at no reserve. Now, there's a common phrase in auto collecting, ain't it a doozy? Well, this is a doozy, a Duesenberg 1929 dual cowl Model J Phaeton. And one thing special about this car is it has a custom body by Durham, and it's one of two short wheelbase cars that were built by Durham into dual cowl Phaetons. Short wheelbase car has a shorter wheelbase and basically a more sporting package all the way around. Better handling for a car of this size. But with that said, these Duesenbergs have very exotic engines, dual overhead cam inline six with 265 horsepower out of 420 cubic inches, all aluminum construction, and again, dual overhead cams, very advanced stuff. And of course, Augie and Fred Duesenberg, the brothers, were race car builders, and of course, they built street cars as well, cars like this. It's a 3-speed manual transmission with adjustable hydraulic brakes. There's a knob on the dash, which you can set the brake sensitivity from high to medium, and it's basically adaptive braking circa 1929, very advanced car for its day. When it was new, this was similar to a $1 million car today. And back in 1929, on the eve of the Great Depression, this would have been a car for the ultimate, fat cat, rich guy, but a great car, beautifully restored by RM Restorations about 10 years ago. It's also on display at the Imperial Palace Collection in Las Vegas. This car also has some movie star credibility and history. 1966, this car was moved in the Elvis Presley movie Spin Out, where it towed a trailer on which was a Cobra race car. So this car, you can look it up on Google and on YouTube, and you can actually see this car being used in the Elvis Presley movie Spin Out with a Cobra on a trailer, and a very exotic tow truck, if you will, right here. But a great example right here, fully restored. This one was also shown in the 1929 West Coast Auto Salon in San Francisco, I believe. And the beauty of this car, again, is the fact that it's beautifully restored right back to square one. And inside, of course, the leather upholstery here, bench seat up front, 3-speed manual on the floor, and in the back, room for 2 or 3, and the rear window here goes up or down with a hand crank, which was a Durham custom touch. Was only found on 2 of these cars. Again, Durham built 2 short wheelbase Model Js in 1929. This is one of them, and a beautiful example of the breed, highly restored, bid strong. This is a classic, might even break some world records. It's a doozy. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, where on October 24th and 25th of 2025, Richmond Auctions is going to conduct a sale of over 100 special interest vehicles, most of them being sold at no reserve. One of the special cars I'm looking forward to is this 1930 Cadillac V16 Fleetwood dual cowl Phaeton. Now, of course, 1929 or 1930 was the first year for the Cadillac V16. Great engine, 45-degree V, a narrow V, which allowed for a narrower hood. And this is the first engine to be styled by the designers. It has a lot of black enamel surfaces. All of the wires are covered and hidden from view. A lot of chromed nuts and things, fasteners on the side. So the engine is styled as much as the body and the rest of the car. And speaking of the body, this is a Fleetwood body. Now, Cadillac Fleetwood has been the top of the line since its inception, and even to the 70s and 80s, the Fleetwood was the top of the line Cadillac. Well, Fleetwood was a Pennsylvania-based body manufacturer which would build custom bodies for Cadillac and other manufacturers, but body by Fleetwood starts right here. Now, the bodies on these, it has a steel skin from here, and of course the cowl and the hood are also, and the fenders are also steel. But inside the body here is a wooden framework, heavy wood, and these were very heavy vehicles, like 6 tons. It was not an uncommon number with these things, fully loaded with people. That's why you had to have 320 foot-pounds of torque to motivate this down the road. And these have a 3-speed manual transmission, and it made so much torque, 320 foot-pounds, that you leave this thing in drive in 3rd gear and putter around town without having to downshift. So quite a very flexible thing. This does have some aftermarket goodies, dress up, chrome spoke wheels with stainless steel spokes, not something the factory would have installed, but again, a nice eye appeal item. Big chrome headlights, and of course the chrome Cadillac V16 logo right here. And again, V16, 16 cylinders, also known as the Cadillac 16. Inside, dual cowl, plenty of room for people up front and in the back. And the speedometers in these go to 120 miles per hour. And I say speedometers because there's one up front and one at the back for the rear seat passengers to understand how quickly they're going. And it says 120, 90 is more like it, but 90 miles an hour, this is going pretty quick. And the back seat area has room for 3 across, and here's a dual cowl, a window that goes up or down. It's retractable for privacy and or wind protection at speed. And again, 90 miles an hour in this with the top down would be a heck of a ride. And this is going to sell at the auction on October 24th or 25th, 2025, and be a strong bidder. These are world-class collector cars. If your collector doesn't have one of these, it needs to have one, and this is one of the best. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, where on October 24th and 25th, Richmond Auctions will be selling 100 plus collector cars during the auction, many of them at no reserve. Something very special is this 1965 Chevy Corvette Cutaway. This was built for the New York World's Fair, and it features a 1965 fuel-injected Corvette Stingray coupe that's been sliced and diced in the interest of allowing people to see what makes it tick from the inside out. It's electrified. The engine, transmission, differential, drive shaft all turn with a big electric motor. The suspension actually rolls on rollers and shows the articulation of the coil springs up front and the leaf spring in the back and the half shafts and all these things for a great viewing experience at the car show. And this also toured the GM Motorama display after the New York World's Fair ended, and so millions of people probably saw this from coast to coast and loved it. And it is an example of a car that had 4 miles on it, brand new car that GM sliced and again cut apart. And the show car detailing and chrome work on this is beautiful. The exhaust manifolds, the intake, everything's sliced and diced. You can see inside with a contrast painting to show off what makes it tick from the inside out. Valves are chrome plated, show chrome, things that are done to this for show displays. So this is the centerpiece of any Corvette collection or any car collection. Bid strong. It's a one-of-kind item. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, where on October 24th and 25th, 2025, Richmond Auctions will be selling a little over 100 vehicle lots, some of them at no reserve. Something very unusual and one of a kind is this 2-in-1 1969 Camaro show display from General Motors. There were about 4 of these things built and toured all over the country, and perhaps this is the only one left that's intact like this. Now, the interesting thing is that this side here, from the cowl back, it's a regular Camaro, kind of cool, it's a good thing unto itself, but from the cowl forward, this one presents as a Super Sport RS with the SS 350 option. It has the Super Sport hood with the ice tray hood scoops, and of course the RS hideaway headlights, the Enduro front bumper, and the 350 cubic inch small block 300 horsepower engine right here, automatic transmission backed up. Everything here is show chromed. In fact, the valve covers are transparent to give showgoers a look at the springs and the valve train in action, in motion. By contrast, this one over here is a basic sport coupe with a flat hood, just a standard hood, exposed headlights, chrome front bumper. One thing it does have is the optional sport stripe, which was an option on all Camaros, not necessarily an SS back in the day. But under the hood of this one is a 250 cubic inch Chevy 6 with an automatic, but again, everything is quite detailed. This one here, the base car has drum brakes up front. The SS RS has disc brakes up front. So General Motors is very specific and very correct and accurate in presenting these two vehicles at the top of the pile and at the bottom of the heap in Chevrolet Camaro order book, if you will. These cars can be purchased again here at the auction between October 24th and 25th. So bid strong. The only one of its kind, the ultimate thing for a museum or a Chevy lover's garage. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, which on October 24th and 25th of 2025 will be sold by Richmond Auctions in its entirety, about 102 vehicles. Some are red-hot collectibles, including this 1971 Hemi Cuda. It's a fully restored numbers-matching car, 426 Hemi, of course, 727 torque flight, shifter on the console on the floor, which is very cool. 410 Dana car, it's a factory 410 Dana Super Track Pack piece, and beautifully restored. Very much rust-free shell, 100-point restoration. And let's begin our walk around. True blue metallic, of course 1971 specific. Cuda fenders here. The 15x7 wheels with, correct for 1971, Argent center caps. The right F70-15 Goodyear Polyglass GT front and rear tires. Of course, the noses, the 1971 brought the new Cuda grille with 4 headlights versus 2 for 1970. So Plymouth made moves to improve and more specify the breed, as it were. Of course, the Hemi cars, the shaker, there it is right there, very much in charge, and that actually quivers and wiggles as a car is going down the road. Hit the gas, it shakes like that. It lives up to its name. The shaker truly is a thing to behold in action. Speaking of behold, let's open the hood and see what we can find. And here it is, the mighty Elephant Street Hemi, and beautifully restored under the hood. Everything is correctly presented. A lot of old New Oil stock pieces on this car. A lot of the original panels are clearly still present. 26-inch wide radiator, automatic car with the transmission cooler, which is factory correct stuff. The shaker present and accounted for, nothing missing. The flaps and the doors inside are all there and functional. And let's go around to the side of the car, and of course the Barracuda in its second year on the E-body platform, 70 through 74, but 70 and 71 are the only 2 years you get a Hemi or the big engines. After 72 is all small blocks and 6 cylinders. So this is kind of the end of the road for the mighty Cuda or Hemi Cuda, which is what this is. Vinyl top. Something kind of weird about this car, the usual Hemi Cuda stripe down the side right here, the hockey stick stripe is missing on this one because it was deleted. There's a thing called V01 monotone paint, which is a delete option, so you didn't have the stripe here, which would be seen on a fully dressed Hemi Cuda for 1971. So just a beautiful example of the breed right here, and the billboard is what you would have had in 71. But anyway, go down to the back here, and again, beautifully presented, and no hot rodding, nothing at all, no Craigers, nothing like that. It's all 100% factory original. It has the Dave Wise report, which is money in the bank. Dave Wise, of course, goes from front to back, verifying the date codes and everything. This car got like a full report from Dave Wise, verifying that it's a very clean restoration, very correct car. And again, there were only 48 automatic Hemi Cudas built in 1971, and this is one of them. And the paperwork is in the trunk here. We see the build sheet is present and accounted for. A picture of the car on somebody's yard when it was sort of in the mid-70s, just sort of defunct and getting ready to be saved and loved. But again, all kinds of things. Owner's manual, magazine article. And here's the Dave Wise report right here. It's a multi-page document here that walks you through every detail of the car, including how many were built and the date codes. And Dave digs in deep on these things. So everything from the differential to the transmission case, they're all date code correct. He goes through these cars. So this is basically money in the bank, the Wise report. So it's a great example of the breed, and Hemi E-bodies are white hot collector cars. Whether you're a Mopar guy, a Ford guy, GM, you want a Hemi Cuda in your collection. Bid strong. It's a good one. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, where on October 24th and 25th of 2025, a little over 100 cars will be sold by Richmond Auctions, many of them at no reserve. One of the specialties that I'm looking for is this 1971 Hemi Cuda. In the Mopar world, the 71 Hemi Cuda is one of the pinnacle vehicles for any collector or collection. Only 107 of these cars were built in 1971, the final year for the Hemi-powered E-body. Everybody wants one. You want one too. This one's very special. It's a full restoration, has the 4-speed, the Hemi, of course, under the hood with the shaker hood, standard fare on the Hemi. Of course, 1971 brought us the Guild fenders right here, 71 only on Cudas, and present and accounted for are 15x7 rally wheels in this one, disc brakes up front. And under the tail of the car is the A34 Super Track Pack, which means 410 Dana back there. So that means this car is built for acceleration. Let's peek under the hood and see how correct this one has been restored. And this is a full restoration, just a great looking car in every way. Let's pop that hood. Here's the shaker, the mean shaker. You pull up next to a GTO with this thing wiggling away. The GTO is going to find another direction to go because this is pretty much unbeatable. 425 horsepower, 490 foot-pounds of torque. And let's behold the mighty elephant. And there it is, the street Hemi. 1971 and 70 brought hydraulic lifters, so no trouble with solid lifters and needing to set the lash, but 71 and 70 had hydraulic lifters, same 425 horsepower. Again, correctly restored here. The shaker present and accounted for, 26-inch wide radiator, and perfect restoration in every way, shape, or form. Something unique about street Hemis is that they have a wiring harness on the passenger side of the dash, which can be uncoupled for quick installation on the assembly line, and also a detail that many people forget, but it's present and accounted for here. Also on the fender tag, it says Hemi fender, which means it has the proper fenders for a Hemi car, which had larger tires up front, and they had rolled fender lips on these so that the fenders would not rub the tires on a tight corner. Correctly done inside and out. And again, this is again a 4-speed car with a Hemi 4-speed 18-tooth strong transmission. Pistol grip shifter for the first time in 1970, seen here in 1971. And something cool about this car is the fact that it was featured on the cover of Hot Rod magazine right here back in June of 2018. And more important than any of that is it has the full Dave Wise report. Dave Wise, of course, is the man, the guru, to validate any car, any Hemi car, any Mopar for that matter. But he went over this car with a fine-tooth comb and found it to be a very great example of the breed. Opening the door, bucket seats, of course. No console, there was extra cost. And again, it's kind of built for acceleration. No dead weight on this one. The pistol grip 4-speed, the 410 Dana in the back. And just the curious yellow paint on this one here. A very unusual color choice for a guy with a street Hemi, but here it is. Selling on October 24th or 25th. Bid strong. It's a good one. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Towney Collection, which will be sold in its entirety on October 24th and 25th by Richmond Auctions. And one of the star vehicles in the collection is this 1970 Ford Mustang GT 500 convertible, Shelby of course. And it's the only one built with this color combination with a 428 Super Drag Pack and in candy apple red, the only one verified. And it's a great example of a restored vehicle. It was a very straight car when it was originally found and owned by one guy for many, many years. But with that said, the restoration was done on a perfect car, which made it even more perfect, if you can imagine that. It's a beautiful car. And again, 1970 was the year that the GT 500 sort of reached its pinnacle. The 70s are different from 69s. Of course, black painted hood inserts, chin spoiler from the Boss 302. Things were added to make the 70 different from the 69. But again, these were fairly popular. Well, with that said, of the 470 GT 500 Mustangs made in 1970, only 90 were convertibles like this one. And the money on this car really is the fact that it's a Super Corvette 428 car. What does that mean? Let's pop the hood and find out. Of course, this is a 335 horsepower engine. Theoretically, it's more like 410 for sure. It was underrated, who knows why, but it did the job. But again, the Super Corvette included Super Duty parts, 427 Le Mans style rods, and an engine oil cooler when you had the V code 391 axle ratio in the back, which made drag strip action better, highway cruising not so much fun. But with that said, this kept the oil nice and thick, the oil cooler only on Super Corvette cars. And of course, the standard fare on the GT500 was a cold air hood right here made of fiberglass. And beautifully rendered and restored. All the emission stuff is here. Everything is there. The backfire valve, the aluminum valve covers, which are correct for the car. And again, this car, since it was new, only has 38,466 miles, and that's since new. And this car has won a lot of awards too, by the way. It won a silver award at the Mustang Club of America, and also a first place at the Antique Auto Club of America in 2010. So accolades from those who know. It's the best of the best. And again, it's one of one in candy apple red with this drivetrain package. And again, one of only 90 GT 500 convertibles built in 1970, the final year for the GT 500. Interior is beautiful, 4-speed close ratio transmission, and the factory graphics on this is beautiful. The reflective tape stripes on the side, part of the GT 500 appearance package, and the tail trunk spoiler right here, which also was standard fare on the GT 500. It also has the glass convertible window right there, two-piece glass, but it's not plastic, it's glass. And again, just a delicious restoration on a GT 500 convertible. Again, very rare car, special car, multiple award winner, been in magazines, has the Mahdi report to prove its authenticity and its provenance. So bid strong. It's probably the only one of its, it is the only one of its color and drivetrain combination known to exist. So bid strong. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Towney Collection, which on October 24th and 25th will be sold by Richmond Auctions, one and every vehicle. About 102 vehicles will be sold. And one of the rising shining stars in the bunch is this 1957 Corvette Fuelie airbox car. You might wonder what's an airbox. Well, basically, for SCCA racing, these cars are equipped with heavy-duty brakes, finned drums in the front, and also airboxes that fed cooling air into the brake area and also through the rocker panels of the car toward the rear brake drums to make sure the brakes would stay a little less faded in a racing situation. And also, of course, the airbox fed air to the fuel-injected 283 under the hood, 290 horsepower. A lot of other details on these cars that are very unique and very specific. Let's dig in. Let's pop the hood first and have a look at that motor. Of course, the other thing too is the standard steel wheels were a little bit wider on these cars, and of course the little hubcaps look kind of boring and kind of plain, but that's how these things were. And there are 1,040 fuel-injected Corvettes in '57. Only 43 of them were airbox cars, and this is one of them. This is from the Milton Robson collection, and Milton doesn't mess around. He buys the best of the best. It has been restored, but it's numbers matching from stem to stern. It's a rare bird. Let's pop the hood and see what we find under that hood. And by the way, it's NCRS Gold certified. We have the documents and sticker here in the window, so it's basically the best of the best as certified by the NCRS, and they know their stuff. Let's pop that hood and see what we find. And here it is, the mighty Ramjet 283 in its first year of manufacture and 290 horsepower, which was the first time that American V8 had 1 horsepower per cubic inch. And here it is right here. Now again, the airbox is not just about the brakes, the heavy brakes, race certified brakes. And again, this is here's the airbox right here, feeding air into the Rochester doghouse. And, Chevrolet engineers, including Zora Arkus-Duntov, who was one of the guys who oversaw the big brake package, he was there leading the charge and orchestrating the troops when these things were designed and executed. Another thing, too, is with the radio delete plate, there's no issue with radio ignition or ignition interference because there's no radio in the car, so the ignition wires are exposed, and that's correct stuff for an airbox or any fuel-injected car, or radio delete car, I should say, because the fiberglass body, of course, doesn't restrict the radio interference like a steel body would. But that's beside the point. But as we go down the side of the car, we'll see that this is a beautifully restored car. And just nice. The doors open and shut very beautifully. And of course, the Corvette had a standard tachometer located down low in the bottom of the instrument panel. But on the airbox cars, they had an external tach right here that went to 8,000 RPM. So that's correct and very rare, present and accounted for. And as you make her down, and this is also a two-top car. It does have the folding top, and of course the fiberglass hard top on this, so you could take that on or take it off. I think for racing, you'd probably have to have this done legally. I'm not sure, but it has both tops are here and accounted for. And around the back of the car, and by the way, the airbox in the rocker panels, air enters here. Actually, there's a duct here that feeds the air down to this region here, goes into the rocker inside the car, and there's a little area right here which is kind of rectangular. It's a cutout, and the air blows toward the brake drums in the back again to resist fade from heat buildup. And in the trunk of the car, we find a lot of cool documents. And these are things that are provenance that prove the car's authenticity and its value. And it's been in a Corvette Fever magazine right on the cover. And here's the Top Flight Award from the NCRS, and also Gold Certified, also NCRS. And just a great example of the breed. And again, only 43 of these cars were built in 1957. It's anyone's guess how many are left, but this is probably the best one on the planet. Bid according to your collection needs this car. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, which on October 24th and 25th will be sold at auction by Richmond Auctions. About 100 vehicles, some of them being sold at no reserve, including this 1913 Interstate Model 45. If you've never heard of an Interstate, there's a company that was based in Muncie, Indiana from 1909 through 1919. They built about 8,182 cars. And this is one of only 2 restored Model 45s known to exist on the planet. It's a very unusual vehicle. It's a classic example of brass-era automotive engineering. And of course, it has a 6-cylinder engine here with twin plugs, meaning 2 spark plugs per cylinder. So it's 12 plugs for the 6-cylinder engine. It has a hand crank at the front and has electric lighting, I should say, versus the acetylene cobalt type tough stuff that would have been used earlier than this. But the electric lights were a big deal in 1913. And also brakes at the back, internal drum brakes, which is kind of unusual. Most cars had external clamping brakes at the back, so this is pretty advanced for its time. Interstate was located in Muncie, Indiana, and again, beautiful restoration on this one here, wooden wheels, nicely rendered. Spokes are well cared for and well preserved, and of course the steel bodywork on this is well done. And of course it's a 7-passenger car, 2 up front, 3 in the back, plus 2 jump seats right here, and of course a metal skin with a wooden inner structure. It has a speedometer, so you can go down the road, and back then the roads might have been good for like 20 miles an hour at max, so these would have been probably 15 or 20 mile an hour cars. Country roads were kind of lumpy, but again, a nice restoration of a car that would have been seen back in the day. And again, only 8,182 cars built between 1909 and 1919 by the Interstate Company. This is a Model 45. Take a peek at the engine. Again, a 6-cylinder engine with twin plugs per cylinder, which is kind of advanced. And just make sure that the spark is effective, and here it is right there. It's a cast end block. The crank and the heads cylinder bores are cast together. Kind of interesting piece, but again, 2 plugs per cylinder. Nicely rendered, gray marine paint on the external. 4-speed manual transmission on this one here. So a nice example of brass-era motoring. So bid accordingly. Every museum needs a brass-era car. Maybe yours. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, which will be sold by Richmond Auctions on October 24th and 25th, 2025. A wide variety of vehicles will be offered, many of them at no reserve, including this 1911 Jackson Model 50 7-passenger touring. Now, this is from the brass era of vehicles from before World War I, again, 1911. And again, brass is the rule on these, the headlights, the structures, the hinges, and even the ornament on the top of the hood. And these are called carbide lamps right here. They're not electric. What they have is basically a thing called a Prestolite unit right here. Carbide pellets mixed with water to create acetylene, which then is pumped into the lamps here and on the front of the car to light the way down the road. So this is before electricity. So again, rudimentary transportation circa 1911. Little leaf springs all the way around, fully elliptic leaf springs front and rear, and the speedometer on this car was an accessory. There's a little gear right here which runs a cable that feeds the speedometer drive here. So going down the road, the speedometer is inside the car, fed by a sprocket here. So again, very rudimentary, but a great example of a Jackson. And again, Jackson made cars between 1902 and 1923, based in Jackson, Michigan, thus the name Jackson. And really fantastic example of the breed. Beautifully restored, the paint, the fenders, the wood on the wheels, everything, the tires, all like new, circa 1911. And these had 4-cylinder, 50 horsepower engines, and brakes on the rear wheels only. But remember, back in 1911, most highways weren't even highways, they were dirt roads, so average speed might be 15 miles per hour, so speeding wasn't an issue. And again, these are very rudimentary. Again, starting these involved a crankshaft or a crank on the front. Kick it over down here, just make sure it's ratcheted properly, and off you go with your acetylene lights lighting the way as you head down the road at 12 miles per hour. So bid strong on this car. This is a great car for a museum. It's an attention getter no matter where it goes. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante at the Tony Townley Collection in Bogart, Georgia. All of these vehicles will be auctioned on October 24th and 25th of 2025 by Richmond Auctions in a non-stop barrage of bidding and selling. Let's get started with this 1965 Ford Mustang Shelby GT 350. Now, we all know that Carroll Shelby was well known for the AC Cobras, 289 and 427 powered cars, but of course, equally well known for his Mustang SCCA road race ready street cars. This is one of them. This is car number 257 of a 562 car run. Again, only made in 1965. 1966, the GT 350 continued, but in much more detuned state. This is the only year with 389 Detroit locker rear axle, traction bars. Of course, all of these were 4-speeds. In fact, the Shelby's got an aluminum case T10 versus the iron top load that we might assume would be found in a regular K-code Mustang 4-speed. A lot of special parts in these things from front to back. Rated lead, heated lead, of course, no power steering, no power brakes. These were animals right off the showroom floor. And they were meant for SCCA competition in the road course road racing series all across the United States. This car is correctly restored down to the K-code 289 solid lifter motor, but it's been upgraded with Shelby, by Shelby in 65, to 306 horsepower, solid lifters, Holley 4-barrel, aluminum intake, and a lot of goodies on this to make 306 horsepower. These cars are very competitive on the SCCA sports car circuit back in the day. Of course, factory side pipes on these cars, which went away in 1966, full-length dual exhaust by 66, as Shelby detuned and decontented these cars from step to step. So 65 is the one to have if you're looking for the most ferocious, no holds barred GT 350 of them all. This one even has the correct 15 by 6-inch Kelsey Hayes wheels with the correct center spiders without the flange, right down to the smallest detail like that. Coney shocks all the way around, which were factory installed by Shelby at the modification center. And also this has the axle strap retentions to limit jounce and rebound, still present on this car. Very correct 100-point restoration. Beautiful example of the breed. Fiberglass hood present and accounted for. Something weird about this car, it does not have the over-the-roof Shelby stripes, the blue stripes, which could be had. But with that said, this one's a striped elite car. Of course, the stripes on the rocker panels are unique to 1965 because they go into the door and into the rocker. For 66, they were simplified to go under the door to simplify the masking and taping that would have been required to do the two-tone stripes on the rockers. But this one is 1965, very correct in every way, shape, and form. Numerous contest winner. All the trophies come with the car, right down to the California license plates. This car's been a California car since day one, so bid accordingly. It's a one-of-a-kind car. To bump the 289 up to 306 horsepower, Shelby's people added an aluminum intake manifold, a 715 CFM Holley 4-barrel carburetor, of course, steel tube headers, and a free-flow air cleaner right there. And of course, to stiffen the front suspension for road race use on the SCCA road racing circuit, a front strut brace right here, which stiffens the nose of the car. And of course, other details were The grills on these cars in stock form had a prancing horse and a corral. Well, Shelby whipped up this thing here, which covers the gap, which would be left without the prancing or the galloping horse in the corral. So that's a Shelby GT350 only specific detail seen on this car. And of course, the prop rod. You know, Shelby had no use for anything that added weight, so the coil spring hood hinges on the stock vehicles were deleted and replaced by a simple strut rod, which probably saves a couple of pounds off the nose of the car. Nothing wrong with that. And of course, the wheels on these cars were very specific. They're 15 by 6 inch Kelsey Hayes wheels, but they're very unique. And these were sent in sort of a champagne color from Shelby to the dealer. Dealers would sometimes add aluminum wheels, but these wheels are unique because the center spider has a rolled interface, and it's not like a regular Ford Mustang type of a wheel or anything else. 406 and 427 Galaxies also use a similar wheel, but these are correct wheels for this car, one of 562 GT350s built in 1965. And on the inside of this, these are known as 2+2s in stock form, the fastbacks, because they had 2 seats up front and 2 in the back. Well, in the case of the GT350s, these are strictly 2-seaters because the back seat is deleted. There's a fiberglass panel right there. The seat would be there, and the spare tire goes under the back light, the rear window right there, right where Shelby put these, or put it back in the day. And this is a 4-speed transmission, but don't expect to find an iron top loader Ford transmission, the TNC. This is actually a Borg-Warner aluminum T10. Aluminum, of course, being lighter than cast iron. Of course, the T10 about as tough as a top loader with a small block in front of it. So right here, correct transmission under the transmission tunnel. This device here, of course, is the pod with the Shelby tachometer. And of course, the oil pressure gauge. Also, those things are branded and logoed by Shelby, factory stuff. No radio, of course, radio delete right here. And these were heater delete cars born to be raced. The only heat you need in these things is from the engine and the adrenaline of driving along a road course. And of course, the optional wood steering wheel right here. Very nice piece right there, brushed aluminum in the center. And beautiful example of the breed. Right down to the lap belts right here, which are very legal in SCCA racing, not your ordinary Ford lap belt. But again, these lap belts right here, factory equipment on the GT350 in 1965, the debut year. And with following years, you know, Shelby would get a mass market and sales of these things increased, but 65 is the one you really want. 562 of these cars were built back in the day, and this is one of them. Hey, Steve Bignonti here in Bogart, Georgia, at the Tony Townley Collection, which will be auctioned by Richmond Auctions on October 24th and 25th, 2025. And something kind of neat is this Boss 302 Mustang. Now, Boss 302s were made in 69 and 70. This one, of course, the second and final year. Now, the Boss 302 is a very special engine. It's very different from the Windsor 302 found in Mom's station wagon and lesser Mustangs with 2-barrel carbs. These actually have canted valve cylinder heads, and these are basically designed for SCCA Trans Am road racing. This is the raw material to make an actual Trans Am race car. And again, the engine on these things is very unique and specific. Now, this one's kind of cool. It has a couple of things that are unusual to Boss 302s. This one has the shaker hood, which is not standard. It was optional equipment at extra cost. But again, the Boss 302 under that hood, let's take a look at that and see what makes it a Boss and not a Windsor. The Boss 302 takes its name from the 302 cubic inch displacement of the engine under this special hood. Now remember that these were built for SCCA road racing competition, which mandated a 5-liter maximum, which is 302 cubic inches, thus the 302 engine under the hood. But just a regular Windsor 302 would not do in competition against Z28s and AMXs and other vehicles from competing manufacturers. So the Boss 302 got some very special cylinder heads with canted valves. Or basically, they have freer flowing ports, and the valve angles are different from a Windsor. So these are actually better flowing heads than any 302 station wagon motor or any base Mustang 302 engine. So the Boss 302 is a very special and unique piece unto itself. This one's a U-code drag pack, which means it has the 430 gears in the rear axle with traction lock differential. And because of the higher RPMs those gears would turn, the engine oiler has a cooler right here, which is part of the drag pack package, as it were. And right here, the horns are located on the passenger side, where ordinarily on a lesser Mustang or a non-drag pack car, they would be here. So again, it's a true W code drag pack 430 geared Mustang. And another detail too on these cars is these were all built with a RPM limiter to help preserve engine longevity, this device right here from Autolite has a 6,150 RPM limit. So when you get to 6,150, it would kill the ignition and cut it out so you couldn't blow the engine. But these are very durable engines, 4-bolt mains, forged parts inside. And again, this one has the optional shaker, which like the 428 Mustang we saw in another, will be in the auction as well. It has a functional scoop right here, but underneath the lid is a flapper valve, which opens by vacuum at wide open throttle to allow cold air in there for cooler, denser intake charge. Now, these were rated 290 horsepower from Ford, which I dare say is about 50 or 60 shy of what the reality was, but these are very potent engines. And again, only available the 4-speed close ratio manual transmission, no automatics in Boss 302 land. Let's look inside and see that transmission. Now, inside this Boss 302 Mustang, pretty utilitarian, fairly Spartan, no center console. But of course, the 4-speed with the T-handle, the Hurst T-handle, factory equipment, the Hurst linkage right there. Of course, on the other side of that transmission tunnel is a close ratio Ford TNC top loader, a mighty tough transmission if there ever was one. And again, a great example, really freshly restored inside. This one does have the optional sport deck back seat, which folds down if you wanted to gain more cargo room in the back here. And speaking of the back, let's take a look in the trunk and see what we find. Now, this car is has the factory optional trunk spoiler and, of course, the sport slats on the rear window. Optional things, not standard fare, but we know what this car was originally built with because it has the Marty report, which is all important to verifying pretty much any Ford vehicle. But here it is here. It tells out all the details on the car, including the fact that it's an original W code 430-1 acceleration machine, as it were. And here's the thing. This car has the original engine block, never been harmed. With that said, 430 gears, if you're in first or second and you rev too high, if the rev limiter doesn't save the day, which it should, that's what it's for, it's easy to ventilate the block. But again, to have an original 430 geared Boss 302 is a very special thing. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, where on October 24th and 25th, Richmond Auctions will be auctioning about 105 vehicles in a 2-day barrage of selling. And one of the vehicles to be auctioned is this 1969 Yenko 427 Camaro. Now, you got to remember, this is an unrestored vehicle, quite a survivor. And Yenko built 201 of these cars in 1969. This is one of them. It's in the Yenko registry, etc. It's unrestored. It's very much original. And with that said, you can remember, 1969, Chevy would sell you an SS 350 or an SS 396 Camaro, but no such thing as an SS 427. To get one of those from the factory, you had to go to the Central Office Production Order and file order number 9561, which included the L72 425 horsepower 427 and a 4-speed or automatic transmission 410 posi rear axle, and the Kell induction hood right here is all part of the 9561 sports car conversion. So this is a 427 Camaro built by Chevrolet, but only thanks to the COPO system did this car get built. So let's take a peek at that 427 under the hood. Again, 425 horsepower, 427 cubes. Don't confuse it with a 396 or a 350. It's a whole different thing. And by the way, these were based on regular Camaro Sport Coupes, not Super Sports. So you have a standard Argent grille, no SS here, just the bow tie. And that's correct for the 9561 Yenko 427 cars that were built in Pennsylvania, finished in Pennsylvania by Yenko shop. So let's open the hood and check out that big 427 rat motor and see how we look. And there it is, the mighty L72 425 horsepower 427, built and installed at the factory thanks to the COPO 9561 order that was placed by Yenko Chevrolet to have this car built. But beyond that, what we see here, of course, is the Winters aluminum intake manifold right there, Holley 4-barrel carburetor, and Kell induction, which was part of the COPO 9561 right here, Kell induction. It's a little bit different from stuff you'd find on an SS or something, because the Kell induction flap is not there. It's always open, which is fine by me. And of course, this being a COPO car, it's not based on an SS, so it's basically a Camaro Sport Coupe with the Argent grille, no SS here, so the bow tie here is correct. Found on the COPO cars right there, no Super Sport logos in the front. And other details added at Don Yenko's shop in Pennsylvania include headers, which are better than the cast iron manifolds these would have been born with. And of course, also we see an engine torque strap right here on the driver's side. So when you dump the clutch to explode off the line in a drag race, it doesn't break the motor mount or harm the motor mount. So there's basically a turnbuckle here, which keeps the motor planted down. That's something that was added by Don Yenko's shop for sure. Also, we see a fiberglass plastic flex fan right here, which doesn't rob power as much as a fixed steel-bladed fan wood. Now, while some Yenko 427s were built with turbo 400 automatics, some of them has the M21 4-speed, a Muncie, a tough transmission. Gotta love a stick shift for the big block, nothing better than that. This does have the Stewart Warner gauges for oil pressure, for engine temperature, and even a tachometer on this side of the steering column. And again, Stewart Warner gauges are aftermarket pieces, not installed by Chevrolet, but again, they do the job of protecting the engine from abuse and neglect, so good to have those on board. Bucket seats, of course, up front, no console. Again, the Copo cars are strippers. It was all about the engine and the power plant that got these things down the quarter mile. Let's take a peek toward the back of the car and see what else we can find. More Yenko goodies to make the car more effective on the drag strip are traction bars. They bolt onto the leaf springs to prevent axle hop. And of course, more Yenko plumage and signage around the sides. And here at the tail, right here, Yenko and 427 to warn the guy in the Hemi Cuda behind you or the Mustang 428 that you better not mess around. This is a pretty serious muscle car, capable of low 13, high 12-second quarters. An animal, really, on the street or a strip. So opening the trunk, we find proper applications of Zolatone, and again, unrestored car. This stuff's been in here since 1969 when this car was built. And in the trunk we see a Stewart Warner electric fuel pump right there, certainly added by the Yenko folks to supplement the mechanical pump on the front of the engine to make sure fuel pressure stays steady for the Holley carburetor up top. And lots of paperwork inside. And provenance like this is priceless, and we'll check this out and see what we find. And here's some paperwork from Yenko in Canonsburg, Pennsylvania, new car inventory, and here it is right here, Fathom Blue, or Fathom Green Camaro right here, going off to Francis Chevrolet. And this confirms this car, this is paperwork from this car when it was modified by Yenko. And here is more paperwork here. These are dealerships that supplied and retailed the Yenko supercars. One of them here is Francis Chevrolet, which is referenced in that first piece of paper. And here it is, Francis Chevrolet in Bridgeton, Missouri. There it is right there. And then, somebody had rally wheels on it at some point. And speaking of previous owners, it's nice when you have advertisements in local classifieds showing the car. And here it is right here, 1984. Here it is, the want ad on the cover. There it is. 69 427 Camaro, and then we open up and it says here, it's been blueprinted and balanced, and here it is right here, cover picture, and here it is describing the Yenko 427 Camaro, and here they wanted $17,500 back in early 1980s, so that seemed like a lot of money, but if we only knew at that point in time, and we'll find out what this one is worth on the 24th or 25th when it sells at auction. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia, at the Tony Townley collection of about 110 cars that will be auctioned on October 24th and 25th by Richmond Auctions in a two-day frenzy of sale of amazing muscle and collector cars of pretty much every description. This is something very rare and unusual. It's an actual 69 Charger Daytona, but it's also a 3,600-mile unrestored Survivor. And fantastic cars in so many ways. These are made to homologate the Charger Daytona for NASCAR Super Speedway Racing. And this one, again, has never been raced or restored. Again, 3,600 miles on this example here. It's done in Hemi Orange, which is the original factory color on this car. And just a great example of preserved muscle. And again, 3,600 miles. Let's take a look at the engine and see what we find under the hood. The pointed nose on the Charger Daytona was meant for aerodynamic efficiency. These cars would regularly lap super speedways at 204 miles per hour. No kidding, with the big race Hemi under the hood. And these do retract. These are vacuum operated on the production cars. When they're down, the coefficient of drag is minimized versus the standard Charger with the sunken grille. And again, the beak is all about aerodynamic efficiency. And the wing at the back, we'll get to that in a second. But one common misconception is these are made of fiberglass. These are metal. Actually, it's hand-formed sheet steel, and the only fiberglass on these cars is the headlight buckets. That is fiberglass. Otherwise, all of the external appendages are made of metal, steel on the back, and aluminum at the tail on the spoiler. Okay, let's look at the hood, under the hood, see what we find. And there were two possible engines with the Charger Daytona, the 426 Hemi scarce as hen's teeth, or the 440 Magnum with 375 horsepower and 480 foot-pounds of torque. Nothing to be shy about right there. And again, totally unrestored. Everything on this car is the way it was delivered from Creative Industries, which was the company that did the conversion on these cars for Dodge off the assembly line. And it was kind of crude. I will say that there's a rubber gasket here which prevents airflow from getting between the nose cone and the hood and the fenders, and there's overspray on that, which is right there from Creative Industries in just outside of Michigan. And there it is, and to tidy that up would be to over-restore the car. And again, this is an unrestored 3,600 mile example of the breed. And of course, under the hood, the 440 Magnum's bone stock, not modified. The original air cleaner is there. This is power disc brakes up front. It is also a power steering car, but AC air conditioning was not possible on the Daytona because it just wouldn't cool effectively. Also a lot of handmade parts on these cars. This little structure right here is also something that had to be made by hand at Creative Industries, and it's all there and present and accounted for, and there's no signs of accident damage. Again, it's 3,600 miles of use this car has had. Great example really of an unrestored car. On top of the fenders, these items here, there are little ducts inside of here with holes that have a chicken screen, a vent covering on them. They're all there, and again, this car is very much as it was, Hemi orange paint. Something I see on this is kind of cool. The A32, which is the Super Performance axle package. That's a 410 Dana rear axle, usually found with 4-speed cars. This is a torque flight automatic with the A32 Super Performance 410 Dana under the back seat, so we'll get to that stuff in a couple of minutes. But again, unrestored example right here. And what a rare treat. This is an all-original, unrestored 3,600 mile interior in this Charger Daytona. The 150 mile an hour speedometer right there. I'd say with the 410s, it's probably a 120 mile an hour car or thereabouts. But with the 354s or a lesser gear, you could probably get close to 150 without any problems. Closed course only, please. But anyway, beautifully restored. Not restored, it's original. This is Survivors, what this is, in every way, shape, and form. The thumb wheel AM/FM radio right there. Very cool to see that. Just really, really well preserved inside. But the business on these cars is at the tail, the rear window area, and the trunk. A lot to be described there. Let's look. In addition to the nose, the pointed nose on the Charger Daytona, modifications were made at the back of the car too. Most notably, this wing, we'll get to that in a second, but the rear window on a standard Charger is tunneled, which in 1968, the NASCAR teams discovered caused lift at high speeds on the super speedways. So for the Charger 500 and the Daytona, the window was modified to be flush like this. And again, that took a lot of handwork. The people at Creative Industries, there was a metal plug that went into here, and then the bodywork was done to merge the metal insert with the metal quarter panel in this area, and the glass is specific to these Charger Daytonas and Charger 500s, which is similar but not the same. Of course, the rear package tray is much extended on this, and the business end of the tail of these cars is this. The big airfoil here on the back basically exerts downforce at racing speeds, over 140, 50 miles an hour, probably about, 150, 160 pounds or thereabouts of downforce, which help the tail of the car stay on the track at racing speeds once again. This is not fiberglass, common misconception. These are aluminum, die-cast aluminum, upper and lower, and they're adjustable. These screws right here, you can adjust it for rake if you choose to, the angle of attack, but these are mostly left in this position for street use, obviously. And of course, in the trunk of these cars is another story. The trunk is slightly shorter on these cars. Actually, the deck lid is shorter to accommodate the wing, and inside of the trunk caught a lot of cool things. And again, all this work that was done on these was hand performed by the guys at Creative Industries, which is saying a lot. Anyway, the paint on this, the black, is factory stuff, of course. That's the treatment, the graphics treatment on these cars. And inside the trunk, 2 jacks, because to lift the car up, if you had a spare tire, the bumper jack here could lift the back of the car to change one of the rear tires, but up front, the nose is very delicate. So you just have a screw jack, which you put underneath the side of the car to lift the car up to change the front tires. So both jacks are present and very original. Again, 3,600 mile car, a survivor of the first order. And in the trunk here, tons of documentation. Let's take a peek at that. Here's the all-important window sticker right here. This car was sold to Lehigh Valley Dodge of Allentown, Pennsylvania. And the original price was $4,695.30. And for that, you got the Charger Daytona and the Super Performance apps, the 410, $54.45. And the Daytona package was $271.50 over the Charger RT. Money well spent, I dare say. Has the console, torque flight transmission, The 440 engine, of course. The Hemi was an option, not seen here, which is fine. 375 horsepower. Left side remote control mirror. Music Master AM thumb wheel radio. Power steering. Delete stripe. The RT stripe is deleted. However, the Daytona stripe was applied by Creative Industries. Chrome stamped road wheels, optional. Special order tires. Fiberglass red lines. And moving from here, we go on to the build sheet. And here is the build sheet, which tells us all we want to know, and then some. You see on the bottom here, special order, which all Daytona chargers were. They were very special, shipped off to Creative Industries for completion. And we see here the VIN, the sequence number, all these goodies, all the codes for the engine, the axle ratio, the 410 Dana, Super 832, the Super Track Pack. And here we have the wheel choice, torsion bars, all these things are right here. These are basically, this is the DNA for the car. So scarce to find one of these. This is the actual one. There's even bits of a second one that was found under the seat. So, you know, there's no doubting this car's provenance. Again, 3,600 miles from new. Crazy. And this is a Dodge dealership item. It says, order now. Dodge Charger Daytona announcing, this is the preview right here, telling the story about the Charger Daytona coming soon to a dealership and racetrack near you. And on the other side of this, kind of cool here, describes the standard engine, all the goodies, and then the optional engine, the 426 Hemi. So order a Charger Daytona from your dealership today. And this is Mopar Collector's Guide from the year 2000. Hard to imagine 25 years ago, but the car was great enough then as it is now for a full magazine feature. And here it is right here in the article by Randy Holden and Rob Wolf, I should say. And here it is right here in its time. And again, at this point in time, it probably had 3,200 miles on it, but 3,600 miles right now, which is just unbelievable. This car has survived all these years. Unrestored, very original condition, beautiful piece, a one-time opportunity to own something like this. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, where on October 24th and 25th, Richmond Auctions will be selling about 110 collector cars of all descriptions. One of them is this 1970 Plymouth Superbird. A very cool car. It's a Survivor with the minimum miles. It has 7,964 miles on it. It's never been restored. 446 pack, 4-speed, great car. Let's dig in. Like its stablemate, the 1969 Dodge Charger Daytona, the 70 Plymouth Superbird is similar but not the same. It has the same nose but not the same stamping by any stretch. It also has the folding headlights, but with that said, the shape of this is very different from the Charger Daytona. But again, this is made out of steel, not fiberglass. And like the Daytona, these are made of fiberglass, but that's the only fiberglass parts on this car. And again, steel here, aluminum at the tail. We'll get to the tail in a moment. But under the hood of this could be one of three possibilities. The 426 Street Hemi, or the 444 barrel, or this, the mighty 446 barrel, which is 390 horsepower. Thanks to the trio of Holley 2-barrel carburetors and that big orange air cleaner, this has 390 horsepower and 490 foot-pounds of torque. About the most engine you could get in a Superbird short of the 426 Hemi, and that's saying a lot. And of all the Superbirds built, there were 716 cars built with the 446 back, and a total of 1,935 Superbirds were built in total in 1970. Now, something cool about this is it's very much unrestored. If it looks dingy under the hood, that's on purpose. It's unrestored. It's got a lot of patina. It's honest. I like it. And to take this car and spiff it up and shine it would be to erase a lot of its history. And it has a lot of history. And again, 7,964 miles, but well cared for miles in this case. And come around to this side, like all Roadrunners, the beep beep horn is very much still in place. There it is right there. Something weird about the beep beep horn, it's the only one in Chrysler history really, which is mounted with thin mounts that allow it to resonate, to go beep. It actually wiggles. And also the purple paint on this with the Warner Brothers 7-Art sticker on there, because of course Warner Brothers licensed the character to Plymouth for use on the Roadrunner. Beep, beep, now you know. Let's take a look inside and find out what kind of transmission's backing up this 446 barrel. And what a nice surprise. While many Superbirds had the Chrysler TorqueFlite, a good transmission, this one has the A833 4-speed with the pistol grip shifter and Hurst shift linkage right here. And again, the 440 engines and the Hemis came with an 18-tooth transmission, which was stronger than the 23-tooth 4-speed used in 383 and lesser 4-speed applications. So a tough transmission to stand the guff of that 490 foot-pound 446 barrel under on the other side of the firewall. Very nicely presented, all original inside. The seat covers everything original. 150 mile-an-hour speedometer, tachometer from the factory, AM radio right here. All of it correct and as it was back in the day. And again, 7,964 miles have passed since this car was originally built, and a great example of the breed. Now the big news is at the nose and at the tail on any Superbird. Let's take a look at the tail. And while the pointed nose on the Superbird helps it cut through the air a little better at high speeds on the super speedways, the tail airfoil here generates downforce again at 150 to 205 mile-an-hour race speeds at Daytona, Talladega, etc. And it's not fiberglass. It's similar to the one on Daytona, but like the one on the Daytona, it's also made of aluminum. It's a different design in many ways. It's a little more swept, but again, it does the same job as it would on a Daytona. And of course, on the Superbird on the street, it adds a whole bunch of eyeball appeal. Nothing as outrageous as this was made by any other automaker in the 1960s or 70s. Kind of a cool design. Inside the trunk, which is limited on it by its hinges to not hit the deck lid right there. There's some welded on tabs that keep it from hitting the wing, but again, this is for creating downforce at racing speeds at speedway NASCAR races. Inside the trunk, a whole bunch of documentation, and again, it's 7,964 mile car, unrestored, ton of paperwork. Let's check that stuff out. And here's a ring binder full of goodies that document this car's journey from Lynch Road to, hopefully, your driveway. And here's the window sticker to the car. The car was sold to Forbes Boulevard, Mansfield, Massachusetts. 446-pack car. Original price was $4,643.70. And this gives the rundown of what's in it. Track pack, which means the 354 Dana 60 rear axle, power disc brakes, manual transmission, of course that 4-speed pistol grip, you saw that inside, 446 barrel engine, hood-mounted tie-down pins, tachometer, power steering, special order vinyl roof, which was mandatory with the Superbird to cover up the surgery scars from the roof plug that they put in at the factory. And of course, a lot of interesting details here. All of this very much original to the car goes with it. And then moving beyond that, we have the original broadcast sheet, or build sheet, whatever you want to call it. This is basically the DNA. This followed the car down the assembly line and pretty much gave the builders instructions on exactly which options to add to the car. And here it is, a sequence number, order number, etc. RM23V, the V 5th spot 6-barrel engine, 390 horse. All of it very correct, and here it is. The documentation in this car is very nice to see. There's also a magazine article right here from Mopar Collector's Guide, and this one here is a full cover story on the car. 2003, 22 years ago this was done, and it shows the car in its current form, and again it's unrestored, and warts and all, as they say, and those warts are beautiful because it's scars from a life lived well. Gentle, by the way. And of course we also have pictures here. Galen Govier's GTS. Galen Govier is one of the authorities on decoding and verifying cars, and these are pictures of the underside of the car. An unrestored Superbird, and here's the panel, the bits underneath the car, underside of the oil pan right there, and all the little things that make it. The original mufflers are still in place, the exhaust, the block, never been resprayed. And just a great example of preservation and originality marching hand in hand. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia, at the Tony Townley collection of over 100 special interest vehicles of most descriptions, and they're all going to be sold at auction by Richmond Auctions on October 24th and 25th of 2025. And one of the very special vehicles in my book is this 1969 Pontiac Firebird convertible. Now, it's not a Formula, it's not a Trans Am. It's a base Firebird with the Ram Air 4 engine, which was 345 horsepower, different from the basic Pontiac 400, which did not have Ram Air. We'll get into the specifics of what makes this a very special engine, the Ram Air 4, in 1969. Pontiac records show there were 17 Ram Air 4 convertibles built in 1969. A handful of those went into Trans Ams. This is not one of those, but with that said, this is perhaps rarer than a Trans Am convertible with the Ram Air 4 motor, and those are like $1 million cars in today's market. This one's not a Trans Am. Again, it's a basic Firebird, not a Firebird 400. It's a basic Firebird with the optional Ram Air 4 400. Confused yet? Well, you won't be. Let's pop the hood and see what that Ram Air 4 engine looks like. Before we open the hood, we examine the Ram Air scoops, which are functional on these cars. These scoops are absolutely functional, and Ram Air 4 stickers here to warn the guy in the GTO or the Roadrunner next to you there's a Ram Air 4 motor under the hood of this Firebird, not just a regular 350 or 400 normal engine. Let's pop the hood and take a look at what makes it a Ram Air engine. And there it is. Now this is a multi-level opportunity to examine Pontiac engineering. The filter element, the paper element, is built into the hood. That is right there. It's into the hood. That's a round, open element, air filter in the hood, not on top of the engine. Kind of a weird thing, specific to the Ram Air 4. Of course, the metal pan down here is sealed to the bottom of the hood so that the air stream goes into the carburetor and does its most effective work. And of course, we also see on this one here has the hood-mounted tachometer, the control for it right there. And that's the wiring for the hood-mounted tachometer, which is a special order option. You could get that. Has it here. And of course, back to the Ram Air 4 engine. These have a higher compression ratio than a standard 400 as found in a regular Firebird 400. Aluminum intake manifold, a radical 520 lift camshaft. It's a hydraulic cam, but one of the wildest hydraulic cams ever used in a production application. 520 lift, pretty hairy stuff for a Pontiac. And again, the aluminum intake is a special piece. And the exhaust manifolds on these are also streamlined, specific to the Ram Air 4, and larger diameter exhaust pipes all the way out to the tail, and it's perfectly restored. This car is from the Milton Robson collection, and Milton was a stickler for accuracy and authenticity, so it's a real deal car. Again, 17 cars, Firebirds, in 1969 were ordered with this engine right here, and convertible form right here. And it's not a Trans Am, it's not even a Firebird 400, it's a base Firebird, which is an interesting car. So somebody wanted a hot rod engine without the plumage of a Trans Am, and sure as heck got it right here. Let's go around to the inside of the car and have a peek at what we have. And inside, it's a pleasure to see a 4-speed transmission right here. The automatic was possible with the Ram Air 4, but not here. It's a close ratio Muncie M21, 4-speed, good stuff. Also delicious to see is the factory 8-track tape player right there. It's a factory item. Bucket seats, standard fare in the Firebird. And just a beautiful example. And the paint on this car is custom order. More on that in a second when we get to the window sticker in the build sheet. Tells a lot about these cars. And again, 4-speed Ram Air 4, 340 horsepower. A lot of fun in the sun with this top down. And this is the build sheet for this car. It's kind of cool to decode and see what we find here. Paint special, $9.36 to deviate from the factory shade. So there you have it, special paint. And of course, most important on this car is the Ram Air 4 motor right here, which is not cheap, $630 for the 4-bolt man aluminum intake manifold, 345 horsepower, party on wheels, close ratio 4-speed transmission, the Muncie M21. Very cool to see all these goodies right here. And this is to this car. And again, Milton Robson purchased the cream of the crop, and that's what you'll be bidding on during this auction on October 24th and 25th. Now let's take a peek in the trunk and see what more we can learn about this beautiful, pristine, very uncommon Ram Air 4 Firebird convertible. And before we open the deck lid, we can see here we have the power antenna, which is seen on the build sheet. It was $23 well spent. Let's open the trunk and see what we find here. Yeah, very pristine, and apparently all of the body panels on this car are original. There's no dent or rust repair. It's a beautiful, pristine, and crisp example. And again, only 17 Ram Air 4 Firebirds were built in 1969. Only half of them are known to exist or survive. This is one of them. And again, in the trunk, just beautiful. The original wide tread Goodyear tire in place. The Superstock 2 wheels all the way around, which are an extra cost option. But again, just a great example of Pontiac engineering. Speaking of engineering, on Camaro and Firebird convertibles, there's something called a seismic damper at each corner of the car. These are heavy devices here meant to cancel cowl shake and to give the car a smoother, tamer ride. But again, only in convertibles on Firebirds and Camaros seen correctly right here. And again, a great example of a special paint Ram Air 4 close ratio Muncie 4-speed car, bid strong. Hey, I'm Steve Magnante here in Bogart, Georgia at the Tony Townley Collection, which we sold on October 24th and 25th, 2025 by Richmond Auctions. Just about 100 specialty cars will be auctioned, and one of them is this 1931 Pierce Arrow 7-passenger Phaeton. Now, in the 1920s and 30s, the 3 Ps were America's most important luxury cars that consist of Peerless, Packard, and Pierce Arrow. These are built in Buffalo, New York, and this one is a massive example of the breed. Again, 7 passengers, long wheelbase car, and this was sold new to Alta Rockefeller Prentice, who is the daughter of John D. Rockefeller of the Standard Oil dynasty. So some money in these cars. This has been restored lightly. It's a great driver. It's ready to run and be in parades. And this car was, in fact, used in many parades and spent some time at the Hera Museum in Las Vegas, Nevada. And it could be in your museum at some point if you bid successfully. Now we see on this one the beautiful chrome work, the headlights, the bumpers, and even the Pierce Arrow Archer right here, a piece of sculpture, and of course artistry of automotive legend. And under the hood here is an 8-cylinder Lycoming flathead. A lot of power and torque to move this car down the road. Massive 11-inch drum brakes all the way around. Cable operated, but again, plenty of brakes to slow this car down from a full trot. And inside, of course, there's room for 2 up front, 3 at the very back, plus 2 more here. The jump seats to fold down when they're not needed. So that's 7 passengers right there. Top comes all the way back. And again, it's a 4-door fit and the best vehicle for being seen in a parade and just really enjoying a summer day with your friends and family. So this car will be auctioned on October 24th or 25th, 2025. And may the best bid win.